Hey, this is Brooks with Character Design Forge. This is the first of a two-part video series talking about how to design villain characters. Now, there's really a lot to unpack when it comes to building bad guys, and even the term villain is kind of broad. Now, you could be talking about an evil character, but usually when we're talking about a villain, it's the antagonist of a story, someone who is in opposition to the protagonist, or someone who's looking to cause harm. Now, this could be someone as small as a schoolyard bully all the way up to a nuclear bomb-wielding maniac. Like we tend to do with all characters, we want to establish who this character is, their personality, their motivations, before we move on to visual design. So this first video is going to be covering everything up to the visual design of your villain. So what makes a villain? Well, like we said, it could mean a lot of things. It could just be that they're an antagonist to your protagonist, all the way up to a mustache-twirling Snidely Whiplash type. Well, I have two criteria for making a character a villain, and it may help you in building your own. The first is that this villain character has opposing views to your protagonist character in some way. Now, this means that they could have some that align, but at some point they diverge. Now, this presents a problem, though, because how do you show that your protagonist character, the good guy, is right or justified in his actions? This is where the second criteria comes in handy. In his book, The Golden Theme, Brian McDonald talks about how the central theme to a good story tends to relate back to humanity, the fact that we as humans are all the same. This humanity means that good people, or good characters, all treat each other as equals or selflessly. You'll see this woven into the best stories, even if it isn't necessarily the main point. Really, it's not just a message of goodwill, it's one of survival, that we all need each other in order to survive. That's at least the way that Brian McDonald views storytelling. So if you would like your audience to easily understand that a character is bad or your villain, then you simply need to show that they value themselves or their own life over other people's lives or well-being. This character is now running exactly counter to this golden theme idea. If they're showing cruelty or a brazen disregard for life, we instantly understand that this is not the character that we need to be rooting for. By the way, sometimes a poorly written protagonist is accidentally or unintentionally written this way, which makes us hate them. This makes sense when we think about a hero versus a villain. A hero may give of themselves in some way, foregoing happiness or sacrificing themselves on the behalf of others, while a villain will destroy, steal, manipulate, or kill just to get what they want or to preserve themselves. Even in cases less drastic than life or death, a villain can show that they feel that they're greater or more important than others by taking from someone or drastically affecting their quality of life negatively. All of this works really well when your protagonist and antagonist characters are otherwise very closely matched in views and goals and personality. This can be the thing that sort of tips the scales to show who the good guy and who the bad guy are. A classic example of this are Professor X and Magneto. Now, what's interesting about these two characters is that they can share the same room as each other without going at each other's throats. They're actually longtime friends, and they're both fighting for the rights of mutants. But it becomes obvious that Professor X has the moral high ground when you realize that he's looking at humans and mutants and saying that they can coexist, that we are all the same. Whereas Magneto is actually looking to replace humanity with mutants, that they're the future of mankind. He's also felt so oppressed for so long that he's seeking revenge on normal humans. Here are some things to keep in mind when creating villains or antagonists of your own. We've become really fatigued when it comes to world-ending characters that are bent on world domination or destruction. These characters have been done so often, and they are usually so one-note in their motivation that they act more like a device within the story than an actual character. Instead, use the villain character to improve your story as a whole. You could have them mirror your protagonist character and show where some things are different between them and other things are exactly the same. You could show that your villain is only a few steps off from where your protagonist could be. You could even have your villain challenge or highlight the differences between these two characters and make sort of an attack on their morals or integrity. Instead of raising the environmental stakes like the fate of the world or the destruction of a city, it raises the mental, moral, and emotional stakes for your characters. Will they make the right decisions and hold up under pressure, or will they compromise and end up like the villain? Another very important thing to keep in mind is that some of the best stories don't have clear-cut villain and hero roles. Instead, these are just flawed characters with different personalities and motivations. Then you can let these characters loose and allow their conflicting goals to create a lot of tension. Also remember that stories have viewpoints. The hero in one story could be the villain in another. As an exercise, try to think of a few real people, maybe including yourself. Try to construct narratives around real-life situations or events. Now you're going to craft the same person as both a hero and a villain in the same situation or different ones. I think that this can really help you think of your villains as real, three-dimensional people, and it will help you in your stories and character designs so much more. Plus, it might reveal to you something about yourself and help you grow as a person and realize that that lunch lady who wronged you was just doing the best that she could. In part 2 of this series, we'll talk about how to visually design your villain character, and I appreciate you bearing with me through this first video that's a lot of talking and thinking about stories and stuff because it does form a basis for the visual design of your character. That's it for me today. I'm making new videos every week at Character Design Forge, subscribing on YouTube like over 2,000 of you have done now, like 2,300 I think at the posting of this video, which is just incredible. Thank you for that. That will let you know when new videos are made available. If this or any of my videos have been entertaining or educational for you, please consider backing me on Patreon. And if you're interested in a comprehensive character design curriculum, please check out my course Learn Character Design at learncharacterdesign.com. Thank you for watching, and have fun creating.